The eldest of the council, a wise man named Tatarmbatha, said, "Tembi, my daughter, your words and plea have deeply touched our hearts. But we must also consider the laws of our ancestors and the raging anger of the gods. We shall think about your plea and consult the ancestors once again if possible, to see if there is any alternative, but we are not promising anything." With that response, Tembi left with a little glimpse of hope. She believed that the elders might find alternative means to appease the gods and save her life and that of her unborn child. That night, Tembi prayed and pleaded with the gods of the land and the ancestors to forgive her. She asked for their help to come out of her present predicament. And she made a promise to them, that if they answered her prayers and she eventually gives birth to a female child, that the child would be dedicated to the gods as a chosen girl. That same night, as Tembi was asleep, her ancestors appeared in her dream, and one spoke very clear and gently to her. "Tembi, my daughter, we are aware of what you are passing through. Your love for Tando is pure and strong, but it is against our belief. You brought all this upon yourself." Few weeks after Tando was gone from Ekellini kingdom and Zanaili returned back to the city, lonely Tembi met a new friend named Lindiwe. Lindiwe was a brave girl with a very good heart, who knew what it means to be a good friend. She constantly encouraged Tembi to remain strong and not allow the sad events of her life to break her down. Lindiwe so much adored Tembi and envied her as the chosen girl. She loved the attention Tembi was getting as the girl chosen by the gods and wished to be her. She often reminded Tembi of who she was and what she represents in the entire Ekellini kingdom, and therefore should not allow anything to distract her. In fact, Lindiwe became a pillar of strength and shoulder on which Tembi could lean on at that very moment she needed it most. About a month later, after Tando's departure from Ekellini kingdom, the most shocking secret was uncovered. Tembi found out that she was few weeks pregnant. She was confused, devastated, and very scared. She did not know what to do, who to talk to, and what the implication of her pregnancy would be. Her worries increased as her belly gradually began to grow in size. She did her very best to hide the pregnancy from the knowledge of everybody around her, most especially her father Chief Tulani and her mother Thandika. But as her body started showing some changes, Tembi's mother Thandika began to suspect her. And as a result, she started watching Tembi closely with great concern, suspecting that she might be pregnant. One morning, Tembi was confronted by her mother, who questioned her about her weight, but Tembi dismissed her mother's suspicion. Tembi's mother asked, "Tembi, my daughter, are you okay? It seems you have gained so much weight lately. I hope it is not what I am thinking. Are you pregnant or what?" Tembi answered, "No, Mama. How can I be pregnant?" And she later left her mother's presence. But her mother Thandika was not satisfied with Tembi's response and body language. So the next day, in order to clear her doubts, Thandika approached Tembi once again. And this time, she physically examined Tembi's body thoroughly and was not totally pleased with her findings. "Yo, Tembi, my daughter, you are pregnant. So you have finally brought shame to this family," Thandika said. Tembi responded, "No, Mama, I have told you that I am not pregnant. How is that even possible? It is just that lately I have been eating too much, and I think that's the reason I have added few pounds." Thandika prayed that Tembi was not pregnant, because if she was, it would be an abomination in the land of Ekellini. As a sacred girl who should not be touched by any man, talk more of becoming pregnant would be a disaster. Thandika said, "Your father and the entire community will not take it lightly with you, if you are pregnant, Tembi." Tembi continued denying it. "No, Mama, I am not pregnant. I don't know how many times I will tell you this," Tembi maintained and left in a hurry. Tembi clearly understood what the outcome would be if her father and the elders got to know about her pregnancy. So she continued hiding it, not knowing exactly what to do next. Suddenly, Tembi started keeping away from people. But as the pressure became so much and seemed too heavy for her to bear alone, she ended up confiding in her new friend Lindiwe, and told her about the pregnancy and how it came about. Lindiwe was so disappointed and troubled after hearing Tembi's story, but she advised Tembi to inform her parents, to get their opinion on the matter. Tembi agreed with her that it was the right thing to do, but confessed that she lacked the courage to face her parents, knowing the height of what she had done. Lindiwe said, "Tembi, my friend, I think it is high time you told your parents about your pregnancy." Tembi responded, "Yes, Lindiwe, I agree with you. Telling my parents will definitely help to know what could be done in my situation. But the truth is that I do not have the courage or boldness to face them right now. In fact, they will skin me alive, most especially my father." As the situation became so unbearable for Tembi, she started overthinking and her mood changed, and she continued keeping to herself a lot. When Lindiwe noticed the changes in Tembi's behavior, she made it a duty to always be around her, to prevent her from doing anything irrational that she would regret after. Each time they were together, Lindiwe continued persuading Tembi to do the right thing and open up to her parents about her pregnancy. Lindiwe continued telling Tembi to inform her parents before the pregnancy becomes known by the villagers. Then one evening, Tembi took a bold step, summoned up courage and decided to tell her mother the truth. That evening, as Tembi sat next to her mother, she said, "Mama, I have something to tell you. Please promise me that you would not be angry or mad at me." "What is it, my daughter? Go ahead and tell me," Thandika requested. "Okay, Mama. The thing is that I don't know how to put this, but I just realized that you are right all along. I am pregnant," Tembi admitted. "Aish. Yo. Pregnant? Who in his right senses got you pregnant in this kingdom? Did you by any chance sleep with the gods in your dream?" Thandika asked. "No, Mama. How is that even possible?" Tembi said. "Then who slept with you in this kingdom?" the mother asked. "Mama, it was Tando and I love him," Tembi responded. Then Thandika shouted again, "Yo. But my daughter, how could you have allowed that to happen? What will I tell your father and the elders? And how do we face the entire community? This is a total embarrassment. I have seen my ears without a mirror. Tembi, you have done the worst thing ever heard of," Tembi's mother cried out. After hearing the shocking news, Thandika could not figure out how to tell Chief Tulani of the sacrilege Tembi had committed. She was afraid of how her husband Chief Tulani would react to the sad news. So she kept on delaying and seeking for a better time to inform him. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Tembi's pregnancy inevitably became obvious. At that point Tembi could no longer hide it, no matter how she tried. That was when Thandika decided to make it open. One evening she took Tembi to her father Chief Tulani, who unfortunately had few people around. Chief Tulani was surprised and could not believe his eyes when he saw Tembi pregnant. He could not figure out how she managed to hide it from him that long. Then Thandika explained to Chief Tulani all that Tembi said and who was responsible. In his face was an expression of total disappointment. And he said, "Nkosi Yami, Tembi, you have finally done the unthinkable. So it was true after all, that you and Tando have been busy with each other right under my nose all along? Does it mean that Zanaili was right and the ancestors wrong? No, that is not possible. But Tembi, why? How do I face my people, who so much look up to me? The gods of our land and our ancestors, how do we remedy this?" Chief Tulani questioned. Later that day, Chief Tulani angrily ordered Tembi out of his compound and she took her luggage and left their home as instructed by her father. On hearing what happened, Lindiwe came and took Tembi and they went to her house. On their way, as they walked together, they chatted and were all smiling as if all was well. Lindiwe was cheering Tembi up and was trying to take her mind off her problems. From that day, Tembi's pregnancy was no more a secret. Wherever she went, Tembi became an object of mockery in every corner of the whole kingdom. The women of Ekellini all condemned and judged Tembi for going against their tradition. In fact, Tembi was called names, ridiculed and laughed at by her own people. But she was resilient and she tried her best to remain strong despite all the rejections and mockery. She seemed unperturbed by the outcry of her people, but deep inside, she was in pain. In a flash, Tembi, who was once loved, adored, and highly respected by all in Ekellini Kingdom, suddenly became a total disgrace in the same kingdom. The people of Ekellini became worried of the unknown punishment they would suffer from the gods for what Tembi had done. But in all this, Tembi's friend Lindiwe was solidly behind her and continued to shower Tembi with unconditional love. She supported Tembi at that time she needed it most. Despite total outcry by the villagers. Some people were even afraid that helping Tembi would attract severe punishment to the person who rendered such help to her. The rumors going round the kingdom was that Tando took advantage of Tembi, after the verdict of sending him out of the kingdom was pronounced by the elders. They alleged that he did that in revenge against the elders and the entire kingdom for banishing him. Because he knew that such action would definitely have negative consequences upon the land. Few weeks later, after Tembi's pregnancy was made public, a sudden rise in infant deaths immediately after birth became a daily occurrence. It happened that if a female child was born in the kingdom, the newborn baby would die few minutes after birth. Then the concerned elders in council led by Chief Tulani decided to consult the ancestors, to find out what was the reason behind the sudden deaths of female infant babies in the kingdom immediately after birth. They were instructed to gather the villagers together in 2 days and the reason behind the calamity that befell the kingdom would be revealed. The next 2 days, the villagers assembled at the village square as instructed. At the gathering, the chief messenger of the gods, a very old man, arrived. Upon his arrival, he spoke and revealed that the gods of the land were angry that Tembi violated the ancient covenant the kingdom of Ekellini was established upon. He said that Tembi's abominable act brought the gods' anger, which caused the sudden deaths of female newborn babies immediately after birth. He added that if nothing was done quickly to remedy the situation, that more punishments would come upon the land. He further advised that the only way to put a stop to it would be by sacrificing Tembi to the great oracle of the kingdom, which should be done within the next 21 days. Otherwise, more troubles would come upon the land of Ekellini. This very demand by the gods did not sit well with the villagers. Majority of the women in the community were of the view that the punishment for defying the custom and tradition of their land should be directed to Tando and not Tembi. They argued that Tando must be brought back to the kingdom to face the consequences of his action before it was too late. There was so much noise from the gathered crowd. And at that point, Tembi's father Chief Tulani, who was expected to make an input as he had always done in such circumstances in the past, stood up and calmed the situation. After restoring order, Chief Tulani, without any personal interest, fear or favor, spoke authoritatively and gave his consent to the gods' demand. He gave his approval to have Tembi sacrificed to the gods as demanded. Chief Tulani's pronouncement came as a big surprise to the villagers, and at the end of the meeting, they unhappily left the village square. A few days later, Chief Tulani summoned the villagers again. As he stood up and addressed them, he made his final stand known to them. He stated that Tembi was his daughter and the pain of losing her was too much for him. But he maintained that she must be sacrificed to appease the gods to save the entire kingdom from total destruction. In his own words he said, "My people of Ekellini kingdom, you all know that I have never for once settled any case with a biased mind, no matter who was involved. Therefore, by the authority bestowed upon me as a chief and on behalf of the elders in council, I, Chief Tulani, hereby give total permission to appease the gods of our land, with Tembi's life as demanded by the gods, for the atonement of the evil she committed." Chief Tulani concluded. After his final speech, Tembi could not believe that her own father could approve such inhumane demands by the gods. Her mother cried as she held her, but there was nothing they could do to change the pronouncement. The next day, Tembi went to the elders and begged them for forgiveness. She pleaded to them to look for an alternative way to appease the gods and save her life. Tembi admitted that what she and Tando did was not justifiable. But she maintained that Tando was innocent of the allegations and rumors going round the kingdom. Tembi clarified that Tando never took advantage of her. And she confirmed to the elders that actually it was totally her fault for all that happened that night before Tando left Ekellini. Tembi pleaded for mercy and forgiveness, but nothing changed. Tembi continued coming to the elders almost every day they gathered and continued begging. And one day she said to them, "My elders, I beg you to reconsider your decision and look for an alternative way to appease the gods. Tando and I truly love each other. What happened wasn't his fault but mine. Is there no way we can be forgiven and allowed to live? I am carrying Tando's baby conceived out of true and genuine love. So even if it would take my death to atone the sin we committed, please I beg of you my elders, allow me to give birth to my unborn child first." Tembi cried. The elders looked at each other thoughtfully. They were moved by Tembi's constant begging and courage. But they were bound by tradition to stand on their decision. One of the elders said to her, "My daughter, our hands are tied and we cannot do otherwise." Tembi later left them that day unsatisfied. But Tembi once again came back another day and continued begging the elders. She said, "My elders, what I and Tando share is genuine love. I beg you to see our hearts and the innocent child unborn. Please permit me to give birth before the sacrifice and I will gladly make myself available. If there is no way to avoid it. I committed the offense and not my unborn child." Tembi pleaded. The eldest of the council, a wise man named Tatambatha said, "Tembi, my daughter, your words and plea have deeply touched our hearts. But we must also consider the laws of our ancestors and the raging anger of the gods. We shall think about your plea and consult the ancestors once again if possible, to see if there is any alternative, but we are not promising anything." With that response, Tembi left with a little glimpse of hope. She believed that the elders might find alternative means to appease the gods and save her life and that of her unborn child. That night, Tembi prayed and pleaded with the gods of the land and the ancestors to forgive her. She asked for their help to come out of her present predicament. And she made a promise to them. That if they answered her prayers and she eventually gives birth to a female child, that the child would be dedicated to the gods as a chosen girl. That same night as Tembi was asleep, her ancestors appeared in her dream and one spoke very clear and gently to her. "Tembi, my daughter, we are aware of what you are passing through. Your love for Tando is pure and strong, but it is against our belief. You brought all this upon yourself. We warned you earlier, but you refused to heed to our advice. But do not give up hope. True love can overcome even the oldest tradition. But in all this, whatever the outcome at the end of it all, even with your last breath, know that it is for the good of the entire people of Ekellini." They whispered and disappeared. In the morning, Tembi woke up with a sense of peace and renewed hope. And she realized that she had to keep fighting for her love no matter what. Knowing that whatever happens at last, either good or bad, that it would be for the good of the entire people of Ekellini Kingdom. Tembi later spoke to Lindiwe and explained to her the encounter she had with the ancestors in her dream. Lindiwe quickly figured out that she might likely lose her friend Tembi and the unborn child to the gods if nothing changes soon. Then Lindiwe promised that she would do her best to help Tembi to go in search of Tando before it was too late. She said that she would not watch Tembi and the life of the innocent child unborn be wasted just because of tradition. Lindiwe said, "My friend Tembi, it is clear to me that you and the unborn child are in great danger. I will search for Tando and let him know what is happening. I believe he might have an idea of what we should do to avoid losing you and the baby." Tembi responded, "Thank you Lindiwe, you are such a good friend. What can I do without you? May our ancestors guide you to locate Tando wherever he is." Late in the evening the next day, Lindiwe packed few necessary items and she was ready to embark on the journey to find Tando. She knew it would be a difficult task, but she was determined to help her friend, Tembi, as much as she could. Lindiwe walked for hours through the pathways and bushy tracks just to cut down on the distance. Until she finally got to the village where Tando found refuge. And she started asking around to find out Tando's whereabouts in that village. She moved from one place to another and after several attempts, she finally found Tando. On seeing Tando at the edge of the village, the excited Lindiwe introduced herself to him. "Hi Tando, my name is Lindiwe. I am Tembi's friend and I came all the way from Ekellini to look for you. I have a message for you." Tando was surprised, but at the same time relieved that someone close to Tembi could visit him in that part of the village where he lived alone. It was such a feeling that he never had or felt in a long time. Then Tando asked Lindiwe how Tembi was faring and what her message for him was. Tando listened with interest, as Lindiwe told him everything that happened since he left Ekellini, and she persuaded him to urgently return back to Ekellini Kingdom to ease the tension, and/or see Tembi for the last time before she dies. Lindiwe said, "You must come back to the kingdom at once. Tembi is pregnant with your baby. And the bitter truth is that she could be sacrificed to the gods with your unborn child to atone for the sins you both committed. Tando was overwhelmed by the information Lindiwe released to him. At that point, Tando knew that his presence was urgently needed in Ekellini Kingdom to see Tembi and set things right no matter the consequences. Then he said, "Thank you, Lindiwe. You are such a brave woman and indeed a very good friend to Tembi. Please could you do me a favor and wait for me here for a moment, while I quickly prepare myself for the trip?" "Sure, I will wait. But please be fast about it. The journey is long," Lindiwe said. Then, Tando quickly ran to seek spiritual help from an old great healer named Mema Suntu. Upon his arrival at Mema Suntu's place, Tando greeted, "Sawabona Mema. I came to seek guidance." Tando then narrated his story to her. "Mema Suntu, I have a girlfriend I love so much. Her name is Tembi, but our love is forbidden in my kingdom. And I was banished because of it. Now I was informed that she is pregnant with my child. And there is a possibility that she might be sacrificed together with the unborn child, in order to appease the gods for our sin. What should I do?" Tando asked. Mema Suntu looked at Tando with kind eyes deep into his heart and she said, "Tando, my child, love is the most powerful force in the world. It is a pleasant thing to genuinely fall in love. Because love can heal a broken heart. It can build, and likewise it can also break the heart. But in all, true love can change the world. You must find a way to show the strength of your love for Tembi before it is too late no matter the obstacles. Go now, your ancestors will guide you," Mema Suntu advised. Tando left Mema Suntu's place a more confident person than he was before visiting her. He was aware of how difficult and challenging going back to Ekellini Kingdom would be. But he took a decision that he must prove to the entire kingdom that his love for Tembi was true and stronger than any tradition or whatsoever the consequences were. When he got back to his place he said, "Thank you Lindiwe, for your patience. Now let's go, I am ready." They immediately set out on a journey back to Ekellini Kingdom. When they arrived in Ekellini Kingdom, Tembi could not hold back her joy on seeing Tando. She thought that she would never set her eyes on him ever again. They embraced and hugged each other with that spark of love still showing on their faces, despite their adversaries. Tando spent the remaining day with Tembi without thinking of any other thing else. And the next day, as the news of Tando's return to the kingdom spread, the villagers were summoned to gather at the village square. At the gathering, once audience was given, Tando started to speak. "Chief Tulani, my elders, and the lovely people of Ekellini Kingdom. I have returned to face my punishment," Tando said, his voice strong and clear. He continued, "I love Tembi and I have always respected our customs and traditions. But I cannot trade my love for Tembi for anything, not even the tradition. The truth is that Tembi is carrying my child. And I will not fold my arms and witness Tembi and my unborn child taken away from me in the name of tradition. Therefore, I beg of you, my elders, present me to the gods for the sacrifice. And spare Tembi and my unborn child. I love the people of Ekellini and I can no longer stand and watch my people to continue losing their newborn female babies at birth as punishment. All because of my love for Tembi. In fact, if taking my life would bring back sanity and normalcy to this land, so be it," Tando said. At that moment, the villagers, Chief Tulani, and the elders were shocked. And they were astonished at the level of bravery and determination displayed by Tando. Chief Tulani was filled with emotions by the extraordinary act of love shown by Tando. Then he stood up and pleaded with the elders to consult the gods one more time to seek alternative way out of the dilemma that they were faced with. After the villagers were dismissed from the gathering, the gods were consulted for the last time by Chief Tulani and the elders. But after the consultation, the outcome remained that without the demanded sacrifice, that the land of Ekellini would not be cleansed. At that point, the elders assured the gods that Tando had made himself available for the sacrifice. The gods rejected Tando, to the surprise of the elders, but finally accepted to give Tembi the opportunity to deliver her baby first, before being sacrificed. The gods also gave strict instruction that Tando must perform all marital rites due for Tembi within the next 7 days. and the dowry due for Tembi's head should be buried next to Tembi's grandfather's grave. The next day, when the final pronouncement and attached condition was made known to the villagers, it was received with mixed emotions. Because Tembi would be allowed to give birth, but she would not live to raise her child. Tando, who was not too impressed with the outcome of the final consultation, later fulfilled all the marital rites, including taking the dowry to the gravesite of Tembi's grandfather as instructed. And Tembi officially became Tando's wife finally, as they had long desired. It was a good feeling to see both of them as husband and wife. They looked beautiful and compatible together, but it wasn't for a long period of time. On the day of delivery of Tembi's baby, the villagers gathered outside Tando's house waiting to hear the cry of the newborn baby. At the appointed hour, Tembi delivered a healthy baby girl. And to the surprise of all, the baby girl did not die after few minutes of her birth, as had been the case in Ekellini of late. Few minutes later, Tando carried the newborn baby outside and the villagers cheered in high spirit. They celebrated aloud, and that marked the end of the calamity of sudden deaths of female newborn babies in Ekellini Kingdom. The entire land of Ekellini was in total celebration mood. But the celebration was short-lived. As they were busy celebrating with Tando, who later dressed up and was still dancing around with the newborn baby, the worst happened. Tembi peacefully slept and finally joined her ancestors in fulfillment of the god's demand. Instantly, without any warning, a strange darkness covered the whole kingdom. And nightfall came upon the land of Ekellini, at the middle of a very sunny and hot afternoon. Few hours later, the daylight returned and the news came that the gods of Ekellini had chosen Tembi's newborn baby as the new special girl to replace her late mother. The elders immediately took the newborn baby and performed the dedication rituals to the gods, and another celebration started. Almost all the elders held the newborn baby and danced as the dedication rituals were performed. At the end of it all, Tando felt lost and alone. He reflected over everything that unfolded and could not believe that Tembi was gone. He knew that he did his best to avert losing Tembi, but the reverse was the case. Tando reflected over the good times he shared together with Tembi, the beautiful baby their love produced, and he finally cried, and wished that it all ended differently. But despite how it ended, Tando's love for Tembi never died. This story showed the power of true love, courage, and bravery. It touched the importance of good friendship and selfless sacrifice for the good of others. It also teaches that there are consequences for actions, either good or bad, and also brought to light the need to challenge and possibly abolish some inhumane and outrageous ancient traditions for the sake of our unborn generations. Thank you for watching. Please kindly subscribe, like and share. Remain blessed.